So I never really thought that I was going to be the type of person that uses one of those wireless microphones. You know those, like the ones where you clip them onto your shirt and everyone can see it? Well, here I am today with the Hollyland Lark Max. Thank you so much for Hollyland sending this out to me to check out and review today. And if you're hearing the noise right now, it's pretty windy and I didn't put on the dead cat just yet, so I'm going to put that on now and let me show you what that sounds like. Okay, so first and foremost, it's a really windy day outside, so I've got this dead cat that they gave me, and I can just pop this right on here. It's got like a little silicone cover for it, and like I said before, I was never really a huge fan of the guy who like holds this or clips it onto their shirt, or you see like some people do this and they clip it onto their hat. I think it looks really ridiculous. But I wanted to try out this mic and just see what the sound quality is like first before I'm the one to judge. The other thing to think about is that their microphones have added in a lot of noise cancellation. So they now have the ability to cut down on all of this wind noise, even without the dead cat. And right now I do have the dead cat on, you can see it there. But a lot of this extra noise that you might hear, like I've got planes overhead, if there's cars going by, it's going to kill off some of that when I turn on that noise cancellation. So let me go ahead and turn that on and you can hear a little bit of what that sounds like. Noise cancellation can be really good in some ways and not so great in other ways. Like, for example, if you're trying to get a little bit of the sound of the environment that you're in, then of course you want to have some of that extra sound, but you don't want it exactly picking up the noise of other things that are going on. Like if I walk by a restaurant that has music playing from the speakers there, we don't really want that music to come through. So right now the noise cancellation is turned on and there's music playing from the restaurant right behind me. I don't know how much of that's actually going to come through on the mic side, but hopefully that noise cancellation does us a couple favors here. But let me talk a little bit about why I wasn't really crazy about this style of microphone to begin with. See, when I graduated from high school, I was shooting on HDV, not even HDV, it was mini DV tapes. Then I went to college and it was HDV tapes. Then I graduated 2 weeks later, SD cards, now solid state drives. So things are moving at a really fast pace. And it's not like there's anything that's wrong with that fast paced environment. It's just that I was kind of like a stickler for things looking clean, like hiding lav mics under shirts and making sure that these things aren't visible. But now we're kind of in this era where everyone's making content, and so microphones, I guess, are more acceptable to be visible to everybody. And I was trying to think about like, why have we accepted that now? Like, why are we in this era of not necessarily needing things to be clean or hidden or tucked away, but we're okay with microphones being visible as long as it sounds good, but then we're sticklers for it sounding good. So it's kind of this weird mix, and I don't totally know what to make of it. So while I don't want to be like the old man that's like, get off my lawn and being all cranky about it, there's a certain standard that I guess we have to kind of talk about now and how this standard is changing, right? Like in the creative world, now it's okay for the mics to be visible, but we need to make sure that the sound is good or the image looks good, that it's exposed properly. By the way, there's like a huge thing of machinery going on over there in the background. Just kind of curious how that's coming through, even with the noise cancellation turned on and with the dead cat on the mic. It's right behind me here. Kind of hear it back over there. So what does this new standard look like? I think it's really about making content that makes sense. And it's not just about getting a product, doing a quick review, being like, oh, it sounds good, and then on to the next one just so that you can make a quick commission on a microphone that a company gave to you. I think it's about being better about pushing things through their paces and really testing them out to see how things are going to work in a real world environment. But also, I think that we should keep in mind like what this content is for and where things are going. If any of this is making sense to you or just feels right, let me know down in the comments, because I know that I've done tons of product reviews and maybe there's times or places where I could have been better about testing them and putting them through their paces and thinking about what we're using them for. So what is the Hollyland Lark Max used for, and like how does that compare to the M2 that I had, which is like the really tiny one? It's like the size of a quarter. Well, I would say first and foremost, the smaller one, the M2, is more for the purposes of recording content on your phone. Like, it just makes way more sense as a device that connects either USB-C or Lightning and goes straight to your phone. Whereas the Lark Max allows us a little bit more flexibility. I think having that receiver with that touchscreen on it really gives us room to adjust the mic exactly as needed. Less of a like quick on the go and more time for those like me that want to take a little bit of extra time to customize their setup and just like make sure that everything looks and sounds really good. But second, I think it's also for the people that are going to be jumping back and forth from camera to a device like this. I'm using an Osmo Pocket to record this on. So it's meant to be that flexible thing that can jump back and forth. And the cool thing here is that this is connected to the Osmo using the USB-C port on the back of the receiver, and then the USB-C port on the Osmo. So no 3.5mm cables are necessary for this. I can just plug it right in with the USB-C and get to recording. I'm trying to think of this as like an easier way of recording content. And truth be told, I've always felt very awkward walking around vlogging style like this, because you're out here in the open, vulnerable to anyone and everyone to watch you creating content, and there's always that curiosity of like, what is he doing? I don't want to be in that shot. So I've always felt kind of odd doing this style of vlogging, but let me know down in the comment section, like, what does this mic sound like to you? Right now, the dead cat's on it. I've got the noise cancellation turned on. There's some planes. I'm right by the waterfront, so you might hear some noise of people coming by, but I'm curious how much of that is getting canceled out. Actually, let me just turn this off, might as well. Okay, so noise cancellation should be off right now, and there's some water that's getting kicked up. There's a little bit of a wake over here. I'm literally right next to it. I know you can't really see it, there we go. So I'm right next to the water, and I'm wondering how well this is still picking up my voice. See, there was someone right there who had a comment about me making content. They walked right by and they said something to the tune of he's doing his podcast. So that's why I've always felt very odd doing stuff like this. But I wanted to put this through its paces. There's like tons of noise coming from the building over here. There's some sort of construction going on. Another plane coming in overhead. But I think it's important to do these real world tests instead of just the videos that I make at home sometimes, where you can't really hear the difference. You can't tell what it's doing. Let's hear noise cancellation kicked back in as the plane goes by, just to see what difference that makes on the sound here and how that changes things. But I think as creators, we're getting to a really good spot now where it's really important to just be real about this stuff. Oop. My little ND filter, to just be real about this stuff. Like, I'm making this content for you guys. I'm also using this so that I can better understand how this mic operates and how I might want to use it in my setup. And so if you like more stuff like this, certainly let me know down in the comment section below. I will try to put aside my fear of people's thoughts and opinions that I might hear while I'm out in public doing this. But yeah, this is just me doing a different style of video today. Overall, I think this is a really nifty microphone. I think where we're headed is in the right direction. Microphones are getting smaller, they're getting easier to conceal, but it's also worth taking into consideration the fact that some of these mics are also not being concealed, and that's becoming more and more acceptable. And I think it opens us up to this new vulnerable place where people know that we're creating content. They know that we're just trying to be real and as authentic as we can about it. Like, I couldn't fake this with a teleprompter. I'm just kind of doing this off the cuff, and that's maybe why I'm rambling a little bit more than I normally do. But it gives us a new opportunity to build trust with you all, the audience. And that's what I'm a fan of. I want to keep building that trust with you, and I want you to come back and watch more videos. And so hopefully leveraging equipment like this allows me to do that with you. I was thinking a lot too about all of the mics that are available right now. And there's just so many options today. Like, there's really tiny ones like the Lark M2 that you could hide. I've actually hid it in a lot of my past videos where you probably didn't even realize it. It was actually tucked between the 2 buttons of my shirt. And then there's mics like this one where you could hide it. Like, you could plug in a lav to this, which is a great feature of it. It's got a 3.5mm input. I could plug in a lav and I could tuck the transmitter down in my pocket or on my waistband, and it goes for a much further range, which I think is helpful when you're in certain conference settings and conference rooms. But let's be realistic about range for a second. There's really no reason why I would need to have my wireless transmitter here and the receiver like all the way over there. Like, that's just not really happening these days unless you're in a ballroom where someone's doing like a speech 100 feet away from you up on a stage, or if you're doing a YouTube video like this where you're just kind of like testing the range to see how far the microphone can go. So let's be a little realistic about what we're expecting out of ranges these days with wireless mics. It's just not something where it's really that necessary for the content that we're making. And I don't know of a situation where I need to be hundreds of feet away from the person that's talking. Maybe like 50 to 60, but definitely not hundreds. So who really is this mic for? Well, for starters, I think it's for the combination videographer and content creator. Like, if you're someone that just wants to have a quick and easy mic that you can throw on the talent, run a lav to them if you want to make sure that it's hidden, but also sometimes just pop on yourself like I am right now and not hide it at all, then I think this is a great option. It's also going to give you a little bit of that range boost on it, but the biggest feature that I kind of missed out on talking on was that internal recording capability. So if you know, some places have interference. Like when I went to NAB, I was recording something with the DJI mics and they totally cut out. And the only way that I saved that footage was because there was an internal recording. Even still, it had some issues there. So I would say that having internal recording on the mic is really, really helpful. It also means that you don't always have to just grab and go with the receiver. You can just grab the mic itself and just walk out with it, record it, and sync up the audio in post. I also think having the USB-C output of this as an option is super helpful too. So you can go USB-C into one of the newer iPhones. You can go into one of the Android phones that has it. In my case, I'm going into an Osmo for recording purposes. So really flexible on the connectivity there. And it's just a really great battery life. This thing has lasted all afternoon without any issues. So if you like the sound quality of this, I've got these linked down below. It's the Hollyland Lark Max, and it's a really nifty mic. It's going to come with a receiver and 2 transmitters. It all comes with a charging case, and then additionally, and this was one of the big things that I liked about the Lark Max over the Lark M2, was that it also comes with kind of this like fabric-y sort of hard shell case to hold all of the little bits and doodads. So like all the little adapters and cords and cables that come with it get to stay along with the big charging case. So you're not stuck when it comes to taking things somewhere with like a little pouch that you're worried about losing or just breaking because it's not protected. You've got this nice hard shell case now that holds the actual charging case, and then that zipper pocket that also holds the wires that come with it, which is really convenient. So I'll link to all of this down below this video, and if you're interested in grabbing it, just use that link. It really helps to support the channel. It wouldn't be a super fair review of this microphone if I didn't take that footage that I was recording while I was outside and bring it onto the computer and check everything out and listen through. And what I noticed was a couple of things. One, the noise cancellation works really well. Like, there was a part of the clip where I was outside of a restaurant and there was music playing and you really didn't hear any of the music at all. Now, if you jacked up the volume and you were really trying to hear it, you could probably hear some of that in the background. But at the audio levels that I've got the video clip at for when we edit this and actually deliver it, you're really not going to hear that. There were some planes overhead, and so you certainly hear those, but they're not this overpowering sound. And just a quick note, I live like right next to the airport. Like, the planes come in to land right over top of the water there, so it's not like the plane was miles out. We are right in front of the plane. So that noise is relatively loud, and it's pretty obvious if you're walking around outside. It's not something you're going to miss, and neither would a mic. So I understand why some of that noise was picked up by the planes. But what I really want to talk about is the ease of use, because this was a microphone set that I had opened up fresh out of the box and in one afternoon was able to get this up and running and figure out very quickly how to use this with my camera. It took next to nothing to go through the menu items, just double check that things were like recording internally, that was set up from the get-go, making sure that the audio levels were correct and where I wanted them to be. So I just want to say how easy and simple it is and how much I appreciate using a microphone like that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.